If you are over 60 and you plan to get behind the wheel tomorrow morning, stop. Before you put your keys in the ignition, before you reverse out of that driveway, you need to hear what I am about to tell you. Because starting tomorrow, there is a new rule in effect from the DVLA that directly affects every driver in the United Kingdom who is aged 60 and above. And the consequences of ignoring it are not just a fine. We are talking about your license being revoked, points on your record, and in some cases being held legally liable if you are involved in an accident while technically non-compliant. This is not clickbait. This is not an exaggeration. This is something that thousands of drivers across the country are waking up to without even knowing it applies to them. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to walk you through exactly what has changed, why it matters, what you need to do today before tomorrow arrives, and how to make sure you stay protected, legal, and on the road for years to come. Let us start with the background, because this rule did not come out of nowhere. The DVLA has been reviewing its medical and licensing standards for older drivers for several years now. The review was triggered by a combination of factors, including an aging population, an increase in road incidents involving drivers over 65, and updated recommendations from medical bodies across the UK regarding cognitive and physical fitness to drive. The new regulations tighten the self-declaration process that drivers over 60 are required to follow when renewing their licence. For a long time, many drivers assumed that as long as they had not received a letter from the DVLA or their GP had not flagged anything, they were fine to keep driving without taking any additional steps. That assumption is now legally dangerous. Here is what the rule change specifically addresses. Under the updated framework, drivers aged 60 and over are now required to more actively confirm that they meet the medical fitness standards set out in the DVLA's Group 1 driver licence guidelines. This includes conditions related to vision, cardiovascular health, neurological conditions, sleep disorders like obstructive sleep apnea, and the use of certain medications that can impair driving ability. Previously, the responsibility was largely passive. You declared what you knew, and unless a medical professional or the DVLA contacted you, you carried on. Under the new approach, the onus is more firmly placed on the driver to proactively ensure compliance, and ignorance of a condition is no longer a straightforward defence if something goes wrong on the road. Now, let us talk about what this means practically for you. If you are between 60 and 70, your standard licence is still valid until your 70th birthday, at which point you must renew it every 3 years. But the new rule introduces additional checkpoints within that window. Specifically, if you have been diagnosed with or are currently managing any of the notifiable medical conditions on the DVLA's updated list, you are now required to declare this regardless of whether your renewal date is approaching. The list of notifiable conditions has also been expanded. Conditions that were previously on the borderline, particularly early-stage cognitive impairment, well-managed but recurring cardiac arrhythmias, and certain diabetic complications, are now clearly listed as requiring mandatory notification to the DVLA. This is the part where a lot of people get caught out. You might be thinking, I feel fine. My doctor has not told me to stop driving. My condition is managed. And that may well be true. But the DVLA's position is that feeling fine and being legally declared fit to drive are two different things. The notification requirement exists precisely so that the DVLA can make an independent assessment, or confirm through your GP, that your condition does not pose a risk. In many cases, they will simply confirm your licence without any issue. But the failure to notify, even when the outcome would have been straightforward, is itself a criminal offence under the Road Traffic Act. You can be fined up to £1,000 for failing to notify the DVLA of a relevant medical condition, and if you are involved in a collision, your insurance may refuse to pay out on the grounds that you were driving in breach of your licence conditions. Let us also address the eyesight rule, because this is one of the most commonly overlooked aspects of driver fitness for people in this age group. The legal minimum eyesight standard for driving in the UK requires that you can read a number plate from 20 metres. But beyond that basic test, the updated DVLA guidance places greater emphasis on field of vision. Age-related conditions like glaucoma, macular degeneration, and even uncorrected or undercorrected astigmatism can reduce your peripheral vision in ways that standard reading distance tests do not capture. If you have not had a full eye examination in the last 2 years and you are over 60, you need to book one before you drive tomorrow. Not because the law requires a formal certificate on your dashboard, but because the law requires you to meet the standard, and you cannot confirm that you meet it if you have not been tested. There is also the question of medication. This is an area where the new rules have become significantly more detailed. A number of medications commonly prescribed to people over 60, including certain blood pressure medications, sleeping tablets, antihistamines, and drugs used to manage anxiety or depression, are now on the DVLA's expanded list of substances that may impair driving. The rule does not say you cannot drive if you take these medications. What it says is that you must be aware of their effects, that your prescribing GP should have discussed driving fitness with you if you are on these medications long term, and that if you are starting a new prescription, you should not drive until you and your doctor have confirmed that the medication does not impair your ability to do so safely. If your doctor has not had that conversation with you, it is worth raising it at your next appointment, or even calling the surgery today. Now, here is something important that I want you to understand about the spirit of these changes. They are not designed to push older drivers off the road. The data consistently shows that experienced drivers over 60 are among the safest on UK roads in terms of high-risk behaviour. They are less likely to speed, less likely to drive under the influence, and less likely to engage in the kind of aggressive driving that causes serious accidents. What the new rules are targeting is the small but significant category of drivers whose medical fitness has declined without anyone formally acknowledging it, either because the driver themselves was not aware, or because the existing system did not prompt the right conversations at the right time. So if you are fit, healthy, have no relevant conditions, and your eyesight is good, these changes are unlikely to disrupt your driving life at all. You simply need to be aware of them and stay on top of your own health and declaration responsibilities. But if you do have a condition that falls under the updated notifiable list, or if you are unsure whether your condition qualifies, the action you need to take is clear. Go to the DVLA website and use the A to Z guide of medical conditions. It is comprehensive, it is updated regularly, and it will tell you exactly whether your condition requires notification. If it does, you can notify the DVLA online, by phone, or by post using form VLTD1. The process is straightforward in most cases. Once you notify them, the DVLA will either write to your GP for confirmation or ask you to undergo a medical assessment. During that period, you may or may not be asked to stop driving, depending on the nature of your condition. The DVLA will communicate this clearly to you. What you must not do is decide on your own that your condition is not serious enough to report. That decision is not legally yours to make. Let us also talk about family conversations, because this is an issue that affects not just the driver, but the people around them. If you have a parent, a spouse, or a loved one who is over 60 and driving, and you have had concerns about their fitness to drive, the new rules actually give you more tools to act. You can report concerns about a driver's medical fitness to the DVLA confidentially using form VLTD1, the same form used for self-declaration. This is not about betraying someone's trust. It is about keeping them safe, keeping other road users safe, and ensuring that if something happens, everyone is protected legally. The DVLA takes these reports seriously and investigates them through proper medical channels, not through punitive measures. There is one more aspect of this update I want to cover, and that is the 3-year renewable license for drivers over 70. If you are approaching your 70th birthday, or if you have already entered the 3-year renewal cycle, you need to know that the renewal form D46P has been updated to include more detailed medical self-assessment questions. These questions now specifically ask about a broader range of conditions than before, and the guidance notes have been revised to make clear what level of disclosure is expected. When you fill out this form, take your time. Read the guidance notes carefully. If in doubt about whether a condition needs to be declared, declare it. The DVLA would far rather process a declaration that turns out to be non-notifiable than discover after an incident that a notifiable condition was not declared. Let us also acknowledge something that often goes unsaid in these conversations. Driving is independence. For many people over 60, particularly those living in rural areas or without nearby public transport, the ability to drive is not a luxury. It is how they get to medical appointments, how they see their grandchildren, how they stay connected to their communities. The idea of losing that independence is frightening, and it can lead people to avoid engaging with these rules out of fear of the outcome. I understand that completely. But the reality is that engaging with the system, declaring what needs to be declared, having the conversations with your GP, and staying on top of your health monitoring is the best possible way to protect your license. The drivers who lose their licenses unnecessarily are almost always the ones who avoided the system until a crisis forced the issue. The drivers who stay on the road well into their 70s and 80s are the ones who stayed proactive, stayed informed, and worked with the system rather than around it. So here is your action list before tomorrow. First, take 10 minutes today to review the DVLA's A to Z medical conditions guide online and confirm whether any conditions you have or medications you take fall under the notifiable categories. Second, if you are due for an eye test or have not had one in more than 2 years, book one today. Third, if you are on any long-term medication that could affect your alertness or reaction time, speak to your GP or pharmacist and make sure you have had the driving fitness conversation explicitly. Fourth, if you are approaching 70 or are already in the 3-year renewal cycle, make sure you have the updated D46P form and read the new guidance notes carefully. Fifth, if you have a family member who drives and who you think may be affected by these changes, share this information with them gently and helpfully. The DVLA has not made these changes to punish older drivers. They have made them to close the gaps in a system that was allowing some people to drive without proper oversight of their medical fitness, and to modernize the framework so that it reflects what we now know about age-related health and driving safety. The rules are fair, the process is manageable, and for the vast majority of drivers over 60, compliance will require nothing more than a bit of time and a straightforward check. Stay legal, stay safe, stay on the road. And please, before you drive tomorrow, make sure you have checked everything I have just walked you through. Your license, your safety, and your freedom to drive depend on it. If this video has been useful to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. I cover everything related to UK driving law, DVLA updates, and road safety in plain language that actually makes sense. Hit the subscribe button below. Turn on notifications so you never miss an important update, and share this video with any driver over 60 in your life who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.